Our world continues to change and push us in ways we have not been challenged before. On this show, we talk about these challenges, how to be aware of them, face them, and overcome them in your life. This is David Waldas, creator of the Aligned Living System.
And I'm Nick Musica, Aligned Living Coach. Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast.
Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast. This is David Waldas here with Nick Musica. And this is kind of a cool podcast. This is something maybe that's been building for a little bit, maybe hinted at a bit, because we're going to talk about something that's kind of really at the core of Nick and who he is, and his decision to finally come out of the closet. And so, Nick, why don't you get us started?
Yeah. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Nick. How you doing?
Good. Preparing to get out of the closet. Right about that. Yeah. Yeah. So
About
we've
time,
talked,
man. About time.
and forever. Yeah. How long we've been doing this podcast, and also much longer than that.
Yeah, there you go.
We've talked about this a bit, and so we'll get right into like the details of it. But it was about a year ago that I went to a psychic fair in Carlsbad. Went there sort of on a whim, and saw this young lady sitting there, and I was there with my wife Julietta, and I said, "Hey, Jewel, what do you think of her?" And she said, "That sounds great. You go first."
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down with this young lady. She was a medium, a psychic medium, and I never been to one before, and I've been to psychics before, and just never to a medium. Wasn't my thing. So I sit down, and she starts the session off by drawing a heart. And she says, "This is either a former romantic relationship or it's an animal." And I know immediately it's Henry. And I start bawling. And I'm looking at my wife, and she's going, "What's going on?" She's mouthing it. And I can't even muster the words. I just go, I can't. I just got nothing for you. But I point across the table to Adelaide. I point to the box of tissues, and she just hands me tissues. I'm wiping my eyes. So, side note, if you ever find yourself at a psychic fair, look for the box of tissues. Those are the people you want to sit with.
Yeah, it's always good.
Those are the real deal. Yeah, that's well worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
And,
you know they're gonna say some real shit, right?
They will. Yeah. And so I realized that it's Henry, my cat, who was 22 years old when he passed. In the last 2 years of his life, we spent going back and forth to the vet, blood work, tests, examining food, hydration. He's walking around like Quasimodo with lumps on his back every once in a while from the hydration. We were treating the symptoms of old age, right? Mm-hmm. And the message that came through was, "You did too much." And I didn't tell her anything I just said about the vets, but that was a great summary. You did too much. And then, as I'm really understanding, or starting to understand, that I'm talking with my dead cat, she continued, and she said, "They're now showing me Dr. Dolittle. They're showing me that you can talk to animals. It's going to be easy for you."
Right.
Oh. Now, I imagine most people at this point in time would go, "I have a question. Can I get a refund?"
Yeah.
But my response was, I've never heard anything more truthful in my life, and I couldn't tell you why. And so I go home, and I do the meditation. I do the Aligned Living meditation that I've been doing for a while at this point. And I tune into my cat, my living cat, Chucky. And I see immediately this big, bright light, the type that you associate with like angels, spirits, guides, and some higher level being. And I think, absolutely not. My cat shits in the box, and sometimes he shits on the floor. My cat is not a higher level being. So I call her up. "This isn't working. This is certainly not easy like you said it was." And her response is, "You're expecting things to show up in very specific ways. It's just not how it works. Be the channel, be open to whatever comes. What you get is what you get." Okay. So I give it another shot, and I decide to get some books. There's so many animal communication books. You'd be surprised how many there are. And I book a couple animal communication sessions. And as I'm about to get up to go to one of those sessions, I see this flash, this quick flash. It's a scene out of Return of the Jedi. And I'm looking at the ghosts of Obi-Wan and Yoda. And I realize I'm being shown a student-teacher relationship. And I know it's coming from Chucky. It's clear as day. And I also know that I'm not the teacher, I'm the student here. Right, super humbling. And then
And
I
your teacher
realized
shits in a box.
my teacher shits in a box, right? So that brilliant white light, I'm like, oh man, like, did I really dismiss it? It was easy to connect, and I dismissed it. It just
Mhm.
totally dismissed it. And then I get on the line with the animal communicator, and this person goes, "Do you know who he is to you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I completely know who he is to me now." And then
Mhm.
we have that discussion. And I've had a bunch of conversations with Chucky. He has given me counsel on family dynamics. He's amazing. He's amazing. I mean, the level.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had experience with him
Yeah,
too.
he's talked to me a few times, and that's not my thing. He's quite a teacher.
Quite the teacher. Yeah. So I mean, the level of consciousness for animals is, I would equate it to the level of consciousness for humans. You can talk to a person who feels like they're not there, and you can talk to a professor who is a master of the subject.
Mhm.
And animals show up across that gamut as well. Chucky is way closer to the right hand side of that
Yeah.
professor,
And you're
without
talking
a
to
doubt.
different aspects of them too, right? There's the part of him that shits in the box, and the part of him that is that master that's here to,
100%.
it's like a dual consciousness almost.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really broken down into three bits, and um, a lot of the things that I was learning about with animal communication is the phrase, and it's just like humans, kept standing out to me. I just didn't know what it was until I started to actually talk with them. And I realized, oh, sometimes I'm talking to this higher level consciousness.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm talking to personality. And
Mhm.
there's other times where it's the body that's communicating. Right. And so one of the examples, I was a couple weeks of the personality. A couple weeks ago, I was talking to a chihuahua, which used to be such a strange thing to say. I was talking to a chihuahua. Right. And now it feels perfectly normal to say
You're out of the closet now. Yeah.
out of the closet. Fuck that closet. Um, And I was talking to this chihuahua, and it was so expressive. And I thought, I mean, chihuahuas are just so expressive. And what I heard was, and I'm pretty. And it's like, now I'm talking to the personality. Now, okay, now I'm there. I'm with you now. Um, where other times, like Moose,
Yeah.
um,
My dog.
yeah, your dog Moose. There was a time where I had COVID, and I was just out of it for a while and just not really connecting well. And we're on the line, and I felt him come through, and his reaction or his communication was welcome back, which was higher level because it was that ton of energy tied to it, and like it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah. You can feel it viscerally in your
oh my
field. Yeah.
god, yeah, super touching too, yeah. um so then a lot of animals were showing up for me in various aspects, but then at the loving prompting of you, you're like, you should go on to next door and you should do something. And so the post was, hi, my name is Nick, I talk to animals, here's what that means. Psychically communicating with them, and book here for free 15 minutes. And I hit submit, and I thought, what did I just do? Like, what one, can
My
you do
name's
it?
on that. Yeah. People will
Right.
know that's me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I have like, financial triggers, and I have like even identity triggers. And I've been the SEO guy for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Since 2003. And so that's who I've identified with quite a bit.
Right. Right.
And now I just said this other thing. So will people, like, how will they even think about this? How do I think about it? Will people even pay me for this other thing if they see me like this? Like, but all these thoughts are coming through my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah. What am I blowing up as I step
Yeah.
forward? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I'm looking at the comments that are starting to come through, and some of them weren't great. They weren't. So, and it was like, is this for real? Are you kidding? Mr. Ed. And I'm like, "Ah, shit, right? Like, you're not feeling good." But then the other side starts to come through. No, no, this is a real thing. I've done this before. And you start to see the dynamic that plays out on social media all the
Mhm.
time,
Yeah.
just this polarization of the conversation. Except in
People
this case, I
defending
was the one
you
who
and people. Yeah. Right.
totally, totally, right? Like, Trump is awesome, Trump stinks. Biden is awesome, Biden stinks. Like, whatever. Like, but choose your side, but that's the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and but I started the post, and so I never experienced that before. And so,
Mhm.
okay, so like, this is not my problem to solve. Like, let the people say what they got to say. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah. You have something
And
else to
this,
be doing, and it's
yeah, right,
not
right, and
getting engaged in this back and forth. Yeah.
not productive, not productive. If anything, that's just going to keep you, I don't know if in the closet, but certainly not coming out of it fully.
yeah, it doesn't feel safe. Like, why would I expose myself to this versus the
Yeah,
idea of I have a gift that has a purpose, that helps
totally.
people, that changes things, that shifts consciousness, that, changes
Yeah,
people's
all
relationship
that.
with animals and like all this stuff that I have to do. That's what it's about, not about people's responses to it
Yep.
and
Yep.
tracking any
Y-
of that, right?
You really have to be okay with all the shits that you give, throwing them out. You can't give one. You
Yeah,
can't.
and coming out of the closet, like with our spirituality, with our gifts and our truth, our experiences,
Yeah.
is like if we track how people respond to us versus the purpose of it, like that being true to ourselves, bringing our
Yeah.
gifts,
Yeah.
and there's always so much purpose behind it as far as the impact we're having. And when that's what we're doing, and that's where our focus is, that other shit's just going to happen,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and it has to, because we have to come out of the closet in order to be seen so we can do what we're here to do. And when you come out of the closet, like that's what you get.
Yeah.
And so where are you focusing?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So the next step was next door, right? And so someone I was collecting information through Google Sheets, which means everything is submitted through a form, and then you can see the sheet in the browser when someone hits
Turns
submit.
into a
You can.
Nick's favorite things is spreadsheets. So it
Oh
automatically turns
God.
into a spreadsheet for you.
Oh
All
Jesus.
organized, the data's right there where you
I do
need
like
it.
organization. It's true. But and so I'm looking at the spreadsheet, and I can see when someone submits, and I immediately I feel her come through. Like I can feel the intention of wanting to connect
Hmm.
her and or her animal. I don't know, but it's palpable. And I think, yeah, I can do this.
Hmm.
100%. I have no doubt I can do this. And so I tune into her animal, and we have a great conversation. And then I get the human on the line. And at the end of, well, I don't know, 15, 20, 25 minutes, whatever it was, she says, the reason why I wanted to talk to you is because my former animal communicator passed, and me and a bunch of friends are looking for a new one.
Hmm.
Would you mind if I referred people to you? How do I do that? And so
Right.
coming out of the gate, the first one was a pretty good hit. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was great. It was fantastic.
And that nod from the universe that, it's right there for you. Are you going to let it happen?
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And at the same time, right? That was um I mean, that was recent, but in between, there was this period of time where I really didn't know what to do with it. Like I didn't, it was showing up for me a lot. I didn't
Hmm.
have a way to express it other than experience it, which was great. Um, but like I stepped out of the closet and didn't move forward from there. Is
Yeah, well, it's
sort
a
of how it felt.
digestion period too. And you kind of step out there and you go, how is this going to work out? What do I need to accept and deal with? And like there is a piece like, even if you're going to say, it doesn't matter to me how people are going to respond. It does. Like we still have to digest it. We still have to
Yeah.
go, yeah, people are laughing at me right now. People think I'm ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's other people that think I'm absolutely amazing. And so
Yes.
like, what do I do with that? And
Yeah.
ultimately it's about coming back home and finding our own truth and going, well, I just got to proceed forward because this is what wants to come out of me. This is who I am.
That's
And
it.
that piece and how good that feels. And let the dances happen. Let people respond how they're going to respond.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've told this to, I'm not shy about saying what this is anymore. And because of that, I've seen the different responses that I get. And this is from strangers or
Hmm.
people I've known for 20 years, right?
Yep.
And it's typically one of three responses. One is, really, we should talk about that. That sounds fantastic.
Hmm.
And then there's, you're kidding, right? Like, ah, I just don't like, I can't quite get there. You're a
Right.
realist.
Right.
I'm a realist. Like we can't, this isn't a real thing. Sure. If that's what you want to think about it. And the third is just simply changing the topic.
Hmm. Yeah.
It gets you,
Yeah.
it,
I'm going to pretend that didn't just happen. I'm pretending you didn't
yeah,
just tell me that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the weather, I'm like, oh, so we're
Yeah.
talking about the weather now. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so fascinating. I mean, obviously I had went through a very similar thing. I was a teacher, I was a soccer coach, I was, in sales, entrepreneur. So I did a lot of like just very grounded stuff. And as things really turned on for me and came out, I mean, I remember very specific experiences of putting myself out there, and the responses like one, I remember I'd already been doing this work a little bit, but I was working like a metaphysical fairs. So people would come to you. It was already
Mm,
the right setting, you weren't a weirdo in it. And I
Mm-hmm.
got, because of my Yelp reviews, I got invited to some Yelp event. And it was like at a bar. And I'm like, do I really want to do this? I'm like, well, if I'm going to build my business, I need to just go where it is. And so, there's all these different kind of high ranked Yelp people,
Mm-hmm.
offering different things. And so I'm sitting there and, people go by snickering, like making jokes with each other about like, oh, you ought to go. And, and I worked with a couple of people that were cool, that were in that world. And this other young woman came and sat down with me with her friend, and she's like laughing, like just totally like not serious about this. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what am I doing here? Like,
Mm.
why am I putting myself in this situation? Like, this is, feels like kind of a mockery of me and what I'm
Yeah.
doing. And as soon as I was having that thoughts, all of a sudden channels started coming through for this young woman. And I was like, all right, are you ready? And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I just, it just starts coming out. And like within, a minute and a half, just bawling. And she's like, I sat down to make fun of you. I'm like, I know. and she ended up becoming a client, but it was like, I thought this was just a joke. And like, you were going to just tell me some, random general stuff. And, and I'd make fun of you and I'd leave. And she's like, holy shit, and it was such a cool moment for me because, I didn't let the mockery stop me. And I just, proceeded and did what I would normally do. And, it played out in a really beautiful way. And she became a long-term client,
Mm.
from somebody who thought this was a joke and mockery to like,
Yeah.
this is a valuable part of how I operate in my
Yeah.
life now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and quite a few of those types of experiences. Another one that comes to mind, I was when I was a teacher, the one of the first days of school when all the teachers for the whole school were gathered. So it was K through 12. So there's probably, I don't know, 50 of us in this room. And the icebreaker they wanted to do is they wanted us to go around and each give like a 30-second thing that people don't know about us that is important to us. And when it got to me, I was like, on the weekends, I work at psychic fairs and do psychic readings. And I remember like just the jaws dropping around the room. And like the people that I knew, because I could feel where they're coming from, like one woman in particular that was always kind of having nasty thoughts about me. And like, she was kind of a nemesis type person and always trying to just cause problems in my world. She like shit her pants. It was hilarious. Like watch her start like fidgeting and she's like, oh shit, I think he knows all the stuff I've been doing. Like, yeah, I do. I do know.
Every one of them.
You're not a nice person. Um,
Oh,
but then it also like the people it's sorted, right? Some people were like, yeah, I always thought you were a little weird, and other people were like, I am fascinated about this.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so in that whole piece of like, if we're here to serve, we're gonna just have to deal with all that shit. And it has to
Yeah.
not matter. But what does matter is what wants to come out of us. And, like if this is part of you, like if which obviously if you're listening to this, pretty likely some of the stuff's
Yeah.
going on for you,
Yeah.
or you have an interest in creating it. It doesn't mean you need to come out of the closet on day one, but at a certain point, it just becomes our commitment to ourself, really, our commitment to
100%.
our truth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll say before, as things were turning on with the animals specifically, and things were working to a degree I never thought would be possible because of my experience working with a psychedelic
Mhm,
cactus, but more importantly, doing the aligned living meditation,
mhm,
because you can do the psychedelics,
mhm.
but you're only in that space while you're in that space.
Yeah, you always have to go back.
That's right. But you can access that type of space with the meditation.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
that's such a wonderful thing when you can get to that point of doing it. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
on
It's
demand.
fantastic.
Yeah,
On
yeah,
demand.
and then learning to
Unbelievable.
stabilize there, where that
That's
is
it.
your reality.
Amazing. Amazing, right? And so when she said this would be easy for you, I attribute yes the psychedelics, but without a doubt the meditation to making this quote unquote easy. Once I got out of my way, yes, she was right. It is easy.
Mhm,
Um, and there was a period when I was exploring the animals with myself and understanding how it worked as they showed up for me and what to do with it. And I found myself like in this place of funk, So for people who are like, what do I do with this thing? I can't tell you what to do with it. But I will tell you this, when I didn't move forward, I felt terrible about it. I
Yeah.
felt terrible on the inside, not depressed, not funk, but someplace in the middle is how I felt. Like it wasn't mentally, emotionally, spiritually anything healthy for me to not
Yeah.
act
It's
on
like
it.
a dishonoring of self is really
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah,
And it's not, it's like going, there's this part of me where all my fulfillment is really centered from, and I'm just leaving it shut down. I'm leaving it in the closet.
totally. Yeah. And you know what, once you know there's something bigger, more expansive, a different reality shows up,
Mhm.
um, and you accept it, it's it's impossible to turn your back on it without feeling pain. And
Mhm.
also, I'll just speak for myself here. You feel like a real asshole when you don't honor it.
Yeah. 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 And and it's just for me, like there was just everything was uncomfortable. Like if I tried to shut it down, and also every time I'm like, you know what, I'm already to make some more money. Like this is too complicated. This is too frustrating. It's too
Yeah,
like because it was always, what needs to grow in me. What needs to grow in me. I'm like, I'm gonna go into sales and make some money. Like the moment I would try to do that, it would just everything would go sideways, and I'd be pushed right back again. It was like,
yeah,
you can't get out of here. Like you need to do the work. You need to come to terms with this. You need to accept it and live from it. And I think
yeah.
so many people are experiencing that now, and then trying to figure out how to get out of it, or try to how to make it a small part of their life. Like, oh, I like to go see psychics sometimes. Like, yeah, that's great, but for all of us, it's common center core right now because it is the essence of who we are. It's what's turning on inside of us. And so the degree to which we come out of the closet, we got to start with coming out of the closet with ourselves first, right?
Yeah,
Come to terms with,
yeah,
yeah, this is kind of a core fundamental, not kind of, this is a core fundamental part of who I am and how I operate. And, you know, you'll be amazed at how many people that's true for, because so many of us pretend that it's not. And, when we let that come out, you know, it changes everything because we become in alignment with ourselves. There's a congruence that happens, I mean,
yes,
obviously the idea of like coming out of the closet, we often think is, somebody whose, sexual orientation is connected with that, and what it's like for them to living a lie versus really being true to themselves. And, um, there's a similarity there, right? Like, and for a lot of people, I think it's admitting it to themselves first and then being able to come out of the closet with it. And so this is very similar, I think. Like, we're all spiritual beings. And when that
totally.
is trying to turn on us and we're pretending it's just a small part of who we are rather than the essence of who we are, um, it, it, it creates a lot of unneeded, um, just deregulation and uh, chaos and,
Yeah,
shutdown.
yeah, yeah. And having someone to help you through it is invaluable. I mean, I've had you every step of the way, and I still had, which is invaluable, and I still had a ton of doubt, a
Mm-hmm.
ton of skepticism. And that's mine. I get to deal with that. No matter, we had some great and always do clear conversations, what it is, why it works, how all
Mm-hmm.
the things.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, and let's put a spoonful of doubt on that plate too, David. How
Yeah.
about that? And then and a
Yeah.
bigger scoop of skepticism. How about that? Let's choke that down. Because that's what I did.
Yeah. And the world's out there just telling us that it's not true, right?
Yeah,
And so like for me, when this was really coming online, I was like, I need to see something miraculous, experience something miraculous every day. Otherwise, I'm going to start to get pulled back to the mainstream perspective. And it would
yeah,
happen. I would ask for that. I'm like, all right, I need to keep my faith alive, to keep my understanding of what's really happening here. Like I need an experience at least daily, and it would happen. And
yeah,
and that was part of my commitment to like, I know this is true, but I fade. And so while I'm in
yeah.
this spot of knowing this is true, I'm asking for more evidence to help me stay here so I don't keep slowly sliding back to like, yeah, I think that's a bunch of bullshit.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it is without a doubt. Once you get out of the closet, accept self, and start talking about it, it is doing that is a commitment. And then and commitment is not a checkbox. Let's equate it to your health for a second. I ate a vegetable once. You are not healthy, but yeah,
Yeah.
like you got to eat the vegetables every day, really, every day. Yeah, every day. Yeah, that's what commitment to health looks like. Okay, so you're talking about that daily commitment.
Hmm.
each and every day signing back up for it, because one, that is the lifestyle. But in the beginning, it's you need that commitment and reinforcement for at least for me, for self and for that initial development, so that you can release anything that is you've willfully tethered yourself to, that feels sort of safer, because you can always sort of grab the line and go back to it.
Yeah.
But all it is a false safety rope that is something that holds you down, doesn't let you go forward.
Yeah, and it's ways we try to work around accepting the truth.
That's it. Yeah.
And I, I mean, I'm sure everybody's having some theme of that in their life right now, because there's a lot going on for everybody. And so that coming out of the closet, yes, it's a spiritual closet, whatever closet it is, it always starts with us being true and honest with ourselves. And that creates disruption. That when we have that clarity, we go, well, shit, I got to do it different. I got to be true to me.
Yeah.
And whatever level we're talking about, whatever area of life, obviously spirituality is the core of that, but there's a lot of kind of big, gulp moments where we're just like, oh shit, I'm realizing, there's a bunch of stuff where I'm not being true to myself, and I got to rework this. And that is part of the theme. And so coming out of the closet, talking about spirituality, but we're also talking about getting clear with ourselves and going, oh shit, okay, this actually is my truth. And now I got to start living it, because the moment I know it's my truth and I'm not living it, it's painful.
And once you get out and start doing your own thing, service to others opens up, and people give you things in return as well. Like, I've had so much support. It's been unbelievable from people I've met for, a minute or two. And I want to work with you and give you this thing. Really? Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then people coming to me because one randomish example, a young lady looking for quote unquote a sign. She's working through something, and she wanted to see a sign, and she goes on Instagram and she sees me, and she's like, I know I'm not going to get what I need to get from someone who's going to rewrite my resume. I need someone who I know, trust, and talks the language I can talk. And so now she and I are working together, and it's I couldn't have done this if I stayed where I was.
No, it's just drawn to you. And that's, I mean, it's something that, it's here and now. And it makes our life so much better, but it also creates disruption. And so we have to be okay with that, because it's too painful to not let it.
Yeah. I mean, choose your challenge, right? Like, any path you take, there's going to be a challenge. You need a machete for no matter which path you're going to go down. Might as well be the right path.
Yeah, the one true to yourself, right?
Yeah, way more satisfying.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, powerful conversation. It's like, I mean, all these story after story of thinking about what it was like for me, when I was first coming out, like that, like it's that same thing over and over again. Pushback, people judging you, but also people going, oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you. You've changed my life. And so where's our filter? Are we going, that person thinks I'm an idiot and a fraud and, a nut.
Yeah.
And this person just told me I saved their life. Who do I really want to give my energy to? And ultimately it just comes back here and going, yeah, all that's going on. What wants to come out of me? What's my truth? Where am I living from? And when we do that, exciting things happen and doors open, and there's a lot of fulfillment that comes with it. And so
the first door that opens is that closet.
That's great.
Got to open that shit up.
Yeah, beautiful. And so again, tons of support through Aligned Living. Like we said, we have all the links in the show notes for the free stuff, as well as stuff if you want to go deeper. But we really appreciate you listening. And again, always would love viewer feedback, listener feedback, and ideas of what you'd like us to cover, questions. So thanks so much. Have a great week. And we'll see you outside of the closet, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's the place to be.
Awesome. Have a great week. We hope you enjoyed listening to today's podcast. And if you did, please subscribe so you can catch the next episode. If you want to learn more about the Aligned Living System and how it could support you in your life, check out davidwaldas.com.